Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let's hop across the pond for the moment. That's my British accent. The pond, hop across the pond. There's been a bit of friction in the relationship between the United States and the UK. Donald Trump retweeted Britain First. Britain First essentially is a hate group in Britain. The United States thinks it has an issue with Nazis. It has no idea what real Nazis are when it comes to Europe. This is The Guardian. Take a look at the article. There's been a response. So after the retweet of the hate groups, Theresa May, the beleaguered Prime Minister of the UK, at least for the time being, soon to be replaced by Jeremy Corbyn, knock on wood, Theresa May responded. She responded, and I'll read her comments. And Parliament responded, meaning lawmakers in Britain themselves responded. I want to talk about it, but I want to show what took place first. Let's see the quantity that we're dealing with. Theresa May carefully rebukes Donald Trump over far-right Twitter videos. Now, Theresa May rebuked Donald Trump on Thursday over his sharing of propaganda videos from far-right group Britain First, while the UK's ambassador to Washington confirmed he had formally complained to the White House about the president's offending tweets. Choosing her words carefully, the Prime Minister said, "I am very clear." Now, I can't do a British accent. I'm sorry. "I am very clear that retweeting from Britain First was the wrong thing to do." Are you now? While British diplomats waited in vain for the president to delete the tweets or offer any kind of apology, oh God, I don't know why you would have thought that, May or other ministers tried to limit the damage by stressing the importance of Britain's historic relationship with the United States. But emergency debate in Parliament heard MPs from all parties criticize the president on one of the darkest days for the transatlantic quote-unquote special relationship. So this is what took place in Parliament. Let's take a look at this video.
With the United States is when a friend tells you you've done something dreadfully wrong, you tend to listen. And wouldn't the world be a better place if the Prime Minister could persuade the President of the United States to delete his Twitter account?
We all listen more carefully, perhaps, to criticism from our friends than from people who we don't have a relationship with. So I hope that the Prime Minister's comments will have some impact on the President. And it's interesting to note my honourable friend's advice regarding Twitter accounts. I'm sure many of us might share his view.
Stuart C. MacDonald.
So, of course, Donald Trump is going to respond. Now, what do you think Donald Trump's response is going to be? Let's see. Donald Trump's, I want to get his quotes because I don't want to change the president's words. But where is it? Here we are. Trump retweeted 3 videos from the account of British First Deputy Leader Jada Franson and later stoked the furor by sending another late-night tweet urging May to focus on combating terrorism instead of criticizing him. Look, if they honestly believe that them criticizing Donald Trump was in any way could have changed Donald Trump's behavior, they sorely misunderstood the quantity that they were dealing with. And this idea of a special relationship, Donald Trump has no relationship with you. Donald Trump has no relationship with you. He doesn't know who you are. He doesn't care who you are. When he says America first, what he means is the people who put me in this office and my plutocrat friends. That has nothing to do with Britain. Now, this is important though. Look, Donald Trump is gross. And we understood he was racist before he was put into that office. At least most of the population did. Now, here's my thing. This is my only issue with this. I agree with you. If I'm being honest, I agree with you. He's a gross, repugnant person that was vomited up out this country based upon what took place by the other administrations, meaning the Democratic Party. Fair enough. I subscribe to this thing that the failure of the right or the failure of the left leads to the rise of the right. Meaning, the failure of the left to provide a solution to the things that are going on in the public allows the rise of the right wing. The solution that the left needed to come up with was not cheating Sanders. Honestly, I don't say that as a bitter ender. I say this as the public wanted something fundamentally different. And this is what you end up getting. From the standpoint of the way I look at this, you've allowed your relationship with the United States to drag you along into one negative escapade after the next. Meaning, I understand that Donald Trump is gross. And I understand that him being gross and him being racist and him being repugnant, he's tweeting out these videos. You need to explain to me, and I hold this question to you in the same way I hold it to my own compatriots here, my Democratic compatriots. Is it that you're bothered by racism, meaning you're bothered by what people say and not what people do? And I don't understand why it's in that order. So, George Bush, probably the dumbest man on the planet, or at the very least the closest to the dumbest man on the planet, decides he wants to invade a country with the shady to no evidence. Gordon Brown was in an interview saying, we knew that they didn't have weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Tony Blair, hey, are you with me, Tony? And Tony Blair said yes. So you had one of your prime ministers drag your country into a war based on a right-winger in the United States and allowed your country to go into a war murdering Muslims wholesale. You murdered 1 million Muslims in that country. You murdered 1 million Muslims, either by your bombs or by your actions. Either way, you murdered 1 million Muslims. You created, in large part, all of these fleeing refugees from one country into the next, into Europe. This was your own hand. This was your own hand. Obama comes in office, and he goes into one country after the next, murdering Muslims. Again, left and right. There's no issue with these. I don't understand. Why is Britain now drawing the line? That's what I'm missing. Is it tone or is it substance? And I gotta be honest, I feel like more highly of Britain than going by this thing of tone. Yes, you need to condemn the president of America being racist. I would argue that you should have also gave this slight, ever so tepid condemnation of the last administration for essentially blowing off international law and blowing off the law in this own country to go into those countries and murdering those people, one country after the next. He expanded those wars to 7, murdering thousands of innocent civilians, 90% of which were innocent. I mean, I said that poorly, but most of those drone strikes, 90% of those drone strikes hit people unattended, murdering civilians. Even if you want to drop that number to 70, let's say 90% was too much of an estimate in an article. Let's say it's 60%. It's still the majority of the people that you're hitting in these strikes are civilians. I understand Donald Trump is racist. I get it. I understand that tweeting out that video is immensely offensive. I get that. I agree with you. But why now? That's all I'm getting at. Why now? Why now? It seems like it would have been just as offensive, if not more, for going into those countries in that way. It would have seemed just as offensive, if not more so, doing the Tony Blair thing, that war criminal, tagging along with Bush into invading a country that in no way attacked us on 9/11. Why now? Why now? Why is this holding the line now? So, I get it. I understand it. I'm asking for consistency and integrity in the way that you're going about things and making this point that tone, while gross and over the top, is a little bit least or less worse than the actual act itself. It's okay if you're not racist and you're murdering Muslims. But if you're racist and murdering Muslims, we're going to get really pissed off. We're going to get really pissed off. We don't like you being racist when you're murdering people. You need to be unracist when you're shooting or bombing. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I get from this. It's not the issue that you're condemning him. I get it. You should. I'm making this point that condemnation should have came a hell of a lot sooner, and not just with the last person that's in that office. I mean, the prior guy, the guy that you yourselves aligned more so with, because he shut the fuck up and had a very nice tone, even though the things that he were doing in that office were very similar. No, he wasn't racist. What does it matter if you're racist if you're still going into one country after the next, murdering civilians without any international or constitutional authority to do so? So I will leave it at that. I'm not going to beat a dead horse or belabor the point. Yes, condemn him. That's great. I understand it. But certainly that condemnation, if you're standing on some kind of moral principle for condemning the president in this way, should have came a little bit sooner with the last presidents who were doing the things that this guy is actually saying. So I will leave it at that. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, guys.